I never thought I'd see him again. Not after what I did to him. Not after the way I left things. But fate, it has a strange way of making us face the people we hurt the most. And this time, it didn't just bring him back to me. It brought him back as the man who saved my child's life. My name is Clara Mitchell. I'm 32 now. I live in a quiet little town in Oregon with my 6-year-old son, Ethan. If you met me today, you'd think I had it all together. A steady job, a home that smells like cinnamon and coffee every morning, a child who laughs more than he cries. But there was a time when I was nothing but a storm, a reckless, selfish storm that destroyed everything in its path, including the man who once loved me more than his own life. His name was Daniel Reed. We met when we were both 22, two young dreamers working in the same hospital. I was a nurse in training. He was a paramedic. Daniel was quiet but kind, the kind of man who remembered how you took your coffee, who showed up when your car broke down, who didn't just listen. He heard you. I, on the other hand, was a whirlwind, chasing ambition, chasing validation, chasing anything that would make me feel alive. Daniel grounded me. But I thought that meant he was holding me back. I can still remember the night I broke him. We were sitting in his tiny apartment, the rain tapping on the window. He had just told me he wanted to propose, and I laughed. Not out of joy, but disbelief. Daniel, I said, shaking my head, you really think marriage is what I need right now? I'm 24. I have dreams. I can't just stay stuck here with you forever. He looked so hurt, so confused. You're not stuck with me, he said softly. You're safe with me, but I didn't want safe. I wanted excitement. I wanted more. So I left just like that. No explanation, no closure. I walked out of his life, leaving behind the man who would have given me the world. And I never looked back. Years passed. Life didn't turn out the way I thought it would. I moved to the city, chased a career that drained the life out of me. I married a man who looked perfect on paper, successful, charming, confident. But what I didn't see was the cruelty beneath the charm, the manipulation, the coldness. 2 years later, I found myself standing in a courthouse holding a newborn baby in my arms, signing divorce papers with trembling hands. His father didn't even show up. So I went back home, back to the town I'd once sworn I'd never return to. I told myself it was for Ethan, to give him a quieter, safer life. But deep down, I think it was also to hide, to escape the mess I'd made of my own story. Life slowly found a rhythm again. I worked double shifts at the hospital, saved every penny, and tried to be the mother Ethan deserved. We lived simply, but there was peace in that simplicity. Until one late afternoon in spring, the day that changed everything. It was raining, again. Ethan had been playing near the old park by the river, chasing his toy car down the slope. I was just a few steps behind, calling out to him to stay close. Then I heard it, a splash, a scream, "Mommy!" I froze for half a second, my heart lurching. He'd slipped. The river, swollen from the rain, had pulled him under. I ran stumbling, shouting his name. The water was too strong, too fast. I couldn't see him. I couldn't see him. People gathered. Someone called for help. And before I even realized what was happening, a man sprinted past me straight into the river. I remember his voice, calm, commanding, "Call an ambulance! Keep her back!" The minutes that followed were a blur. Water splashing, people shouting. My own heart beating louder than the rain. Then he came out, carrying Ethan in his arms. My boy was limp, pale, and motionless. The man laid him on the ground and began CPR. "Come on, buddy. Stay with me. Breathe." I fell to my knees sobbing, praying, "Please, God, please." And then Ethan coughed. Water burst from his mouth, followed by a weak cry. He was alive. The crowd cheered. I broke down completely, hugging my son, crying into his wet hair. And then I looked up at the man who had just saved him. For a moment, I thought my mind was playing tricks on me. The beard, the tired eyes, older, rougher, but unmistakable. "Daniel," I whispered. He froze. Our eyes met. And in that single, quiet moment, the past came flooding back like the river behind us. I tried to speak, but my voice broke. I didn't know you were here." He gave a small, polite nod, wiping rain from his face. "I moved back a few years ago. Work with the rescue team now." His tone was calm, distant, the kind of distance that comes from someone who's built walls too high to climb. I wanted to thank him, to explain, to say something, anything. But all I managed was a trembling, "You saved my son." "I don't even know how to." He interrupted softly, "You don't need to. He's okay. That's what matters." Then he turned and walked away, leaving me standing there, drenched, shaking, and heartbroken all over again. That night, as I tucked Ethan into bed, I couldn't stop thinking about Daniel, about the man I left without a goodbye, who still risked his life to save my child. There was a lump in my throat that wouldn't go away. Regret, guilt, shame, all of it mixing into something that felt heavier than I could carry. Days passed. I saw him again at the hospital. He'd come to check on Ethan. He stood by the door, quiet as always. "How's he doing?" he asked. "Better," I said. "Thanks to you." He smiled faintly. He's a brave kid. Takes after his mom. That line, it undid me. Because once upon a time, he used to say that with love. Now, it just felt like an echo. I finally gathered the courage to say what I should have said years ago. "Daniel, I'm sorry. For everything. For how I treated you. For leaving the way I did." He looked at me for a long time before replying, "I forgave you a long time ago, Clara." I blinked, tears spilling down. "You did." He nodded. But I also learned not to hold on to people who don't want to stay. It hurt, but it made me who I am now. There was no anger in his voice, just peace. And somehow, that hurt more than if he'd yelled. In the weeks that followed, he and Ethan grew close. Ethan adored him, called him Uncle Dan. Watching them together was bittersweet. Daniel had always wanted to be a father. And here he was loving my son like his own, yet knowing we could never go back to what we once were. One evening, as the sun dipped below the trees, I asked him, "Do you ever wish things had been different?" He smiled faintly. "If they were, maybe I wouldn't be here to save him." Then he added quietly, "Some pain has a purpose, Clara. Sometimes it leads us exactly where we need to be." That line stayed with me. Now, whenever I see Daniel at the park, helping Ethan learn to ride his bike, I realize how life comes full circle. I once broke him. And yet, he became the person who saved the most precious thing I have. I'll never be able to repay that. But maybe forgiveness isn't about repayment, it's about grace, about realizing that even the hearts we break can still choose kindness. What I learned from this story is that we don't always value people when we have them. Sometimes we only understand their worth when it's too late, when all we can do is hope for forgiveness. And if we're lucky, life gives us one more chance to make things right. If you like this story, please share, and subscribe for more emotional and meaningful stories. Thank you for listening.